So, this is a thing. It's a different thing. I had a thing before. This was the thing previously. But on a recent live stream, I realized that with that thing, I couldn't type with that thing. Limited space on my desk, so I had to move other things in order to make room for this thing. And I didn't like that. But I didn't know that the new thing would be this kind of thing. So in theory, this thing should improve my audio by allowing me to move the thing closer to me instead of having to maintain constant posture over the thing. So if I sound different in this video, or if you hear weird noises, it's probably me fiddling with the thing. Because it's a thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, or for that matter, I don't know if it's really a good thing yet. But it's a thing. It's also weird because of this thing. My laptop on which I record my audio is right here. When usually it's over here. So because of the thing, things are different. So if this video sucks, blame the thing. Okay. I'm gonna start the episode now. See ya later? In a second? It's a thing. Hello everyone, this is Aegon of Astora, and welcome back to my casual playthrough of Dark Souls. This is episode number 31, being recorded on Monday the 6th of June. I hope you're all having a fantastic day today, whenever it is you find yourself watching this. As you will have just seen in the introduction, which you have no idea how hard it was to not laugh while doing that. I got the idea to do that. Well, I set up, and in case it wasn't entirely clear, which I suppose it probably wasn't, I got a new mic boom arm mic thingy. Maybe I'll take a picture at some point and put it in the episode. But yeah, it might not have been clear from that, but right at the outset you will have seen me sort of take it from the side of my desk and kind of extend it in front of me, and I'm still not used to it. It's quite strange, and but in theory, as I said, it should improve my audio and allow me to not have to worry about picking it up and then moving my keyboard and moving things around on my desk. I can just extend the arm in front of where I'm sitting, and that's that. So yeah, I got the idea for a deadpan introduction of sorts from one of my favorite YouTube channels, Lazy Game Reviews, which the video in particular I'm talking about is called I'm Not Dead, and I left a link to it in the description. So this may or may not be the finale of the series. It really depends on what happens here, or how long it takes us to do things, because we do have several things to do in the course of this episode. So we're gonna start with this. I'm not sure if Lautrec deserves one, but might as well while we're at it. Oh no, it wasn't there, it was here. We kicked him off the ledge much earlier, and so that we could get our hands on the Ring of Favor and Protection, even though we're not even using it anymore. Kind of gross looking. Hi, friend.
Oh, we meet again. How many of you are there? You've come at the perfect time. I'm done with the looting. I'm a humble merchant now, and wondrous treasures have I, at a special price for you. There you are. Have a nice look at them. Oh, relax. No more funny business out of me, my friend.
One of the gestures we learned from him in Dark Souls 3, of course. So he says, how many of you are there? Which to me always seemed as though he was referencing the, I guess, multiverse theory, which would seem to suggest that he is somehow able to transcend the boundaries between these multiple universes. That he's in, to some degree, every player's game. But he, that could just be some British slang that I'm not aware of. I don't know where the actor is from, or even, I guess it's not really, and I don't know.
Here, have you met that backwoods Shiva? Believe me on this one, bruv. The man is trouble. I can see it in his eyes. I just can. No doubt about it. Watch him.
So the reason I assumed that he was, or at least the voice actor was British, was the term bruv, which I've never heard outside of, British media, but maybe that's just me.
Yeah, have you met that sunbathing Solaire? Believe me on this one, bruv. He's a complete idiot. But he happens to be an awfully strong idiot. So just nod your head and keep him on your side.
So it's funny that his disdain for clerics doesn't extend to Solaire, presumably because he is, as Patches put it, such a strong idiot.
Wait, have you met Petrus? That self-proclaimed cleric? Believe me on this one, bruv. The man is scum. Don't you be fooled by his claims to do good. They're all the same, those rotten clerics.
So notwithstanding his prejudicial position on clerics, Petrus is indeed scum. So, but we're going to deal with that in a minute.
Boy, have you met Lautrec the Embraced? Believe me on this one, bruv. He's completely mad. He wouldn't think twice about cutting somebody down. So watch out for him. Especially if you've humanity to spare. I'm done with the looting. I'm a humble merchant now. And wondrous treasures have I, at a special price for you.
Wondrous treasures at a special price. 20,000 souls for a divine blessing, sure. Prism stones, might as well. 10,000 for humanity, and 20,000 for twin humanity. And he also has the gear of the clerics that he screwed over in the catacombs. So something I did with my giant dad build back in the day was you can buy as many of these masks from him as you please. So I would just carry around a stock of like 15 or 20 of each of the masks, and then yeah, whenever I engage with someone in PvP, I would always drop a mask for them. Armor worn by the warrior clerics of the Way of White, who are famous for being unyielding in battle. It is rather substantial in size and weight, making its wearer look even bigger than he actually is.
I'm done with the looting. I'm a humble merchant now.
Oh.
We
I didn't mean to skip that.
Oh, there you are again. Well, welcome to Trusty Patch's Trove of Treasures. We chop prices, not limbs. What? Nothing appeals to you? Well, you must have poor taste.
You know, usually I allow Patches to live. But I'm not sure, you know, he always gets off scot-free in my playthroughs, so. See you later, friend.
Oh, there you are again.
Oh.
Well, welcome to
I meant to do this. Rip Patches. Alright. It feels good.
No, I'm fine.
We're just causing all sorts of chaos here. Okay, Prism Stones. We need to lay one for Griggs and Master Logan. And I guess we have to lay one for Vince and Nico each. It's funny, when I was playing Dark Souls 3, I was thinking to myself, you know, I don't remember there being nearly this many NPC deaths in Dark Souls 1, but it appears as though there actually were.
Oh, you again? Me? I've become separated from my lady. I've scoured near and far, but no sight of her. Where could she have gone? My lady, to think I swore to protect you with my life.
So he is obviously not telling the truth. He abandoned Rhea of Thorland in the Tomb of the Giants.
Your Highness, where have you gone? I am entirely to blame for this. Oh, woe is me. I am unworthy, deathly so. Oh, I'm sorry. Miracles, was it? Sometimes I lose myself. Pay me no mind.
So he is actually wearing the Elite Cleric set, which is not in the game. Well, it's in the game insofar as he's wearing it, but and I am going to leave a link in the video description because we're going to be talking about a few pieces of cut content in this episode, which I mentioned may or may not be the finale. You'll know based on what the title of this video is, of course, but I presently do not know whether we're going to try and jam everything into one video or not. But he's wearing, yeah, a cut armor set that would have been in the game called, yeah, the Elite Cleric set. And, yeah, the wiki.Dark Souls wiki is a treasure trove of information on cut content. So I would highly recommend checking that out. I'll leave a link in the description to the page in general, but also to two items on that page in particular that we're going to be talking about. So Keep that in mind. Another thing worthy of note, before we say hello to Rhea, is that early in the game, there's a single spawn... There's a single spawn channeler here. Who, yeah, we've killed and is no longer there. So, something to keep in mind. And we find her praying at this altar, which also has the corpse of a firekeeper here. Which very early on, I believe in the first or the second episode, we did a little speed run through here and grabbed the firekeeper soul. And that's where she's praying.
Hello. I will never forget what you did. I am deeply indebted, for it was not within my power to save Vince or Nico. I cannot thank you enough. In case you have not heard, I am Rhea of Thorland. I only wish there was some way I could help you. But I am inexperienced and I only know the art of miracles. If that could be of any help, speak to me again. Would a miracle be of any help to you? I would be most pleased if that was so. And may we discuss miracles then?
So, we have a choice to make with her. If we buy all the miracles she has, then the channeler... And so this is the implication, but something I don't fully understand, is that that channeler is a single spawn enemy. And the implication seems to be, based on the item description of the channeler and the connection to Seath the Scaleless, that we buy all of her miracles, and it's unclear when exactly she goes hollow, but if we go to the Duke's prison, we find her hollowed there. And the implication seems to be that Seath, who, as we learned when we were in the archives, basically, kidnapped clerics and turned them into those Pikazas, or Pizakas, whatever they're called. So, I'm not sure if that's the fate I want for her. But the other option is if we leave her for a certain amount of time. I'm not sure how long it is, or what the precise trigger is, but Petrus will eventually kill her if we leave her here and we leave Petrus alive. So, I don't think we're gonna do because we've had more than enough NPC death, and we're about to deal with a couple of additional NPC deaths as well, so I think we're just gonna leave her be.
Vince and Nico were fooled by a lout named Patches and turned into hollows. My prayers did them no good. It is my ignorance, my frailty that has sealed their fates. Perhaps Petrus realized my weakness all along, and thus made the decision to abandon me. I can hardly blame him now. Vince and Nico were fooled by a lout named Patches and turned... and thus I can... Then be safe. Farewell, Verianox.
Ay. So, she just revealed to us the truth about Petrus. And I haven't actually decided how it is we're going to deal with him yet. But I do have an idea. I should also briefly note that it is pouring rain outside. And the sound of the rain, you may or may not hear the sound of the rain hitting against my windows. So if you do, I apologize for that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Miracles, was it?
So I thought perhaps by talking to... I thought perhaps by talking to Rhea that he might... actually tell the truth for once. But then I remembered it's actually, you need to pay Lautrec for that information. And since Lautrec is obviously long gone, yeah, we're going to have to try something else here. But I'm not really sure what the best way to go about this is. So this could get messy. Okay, that did not work out in really any way. All of my plans failed there. But justice was done, kinda, sorta, maybe. So, rip Petrus. And rip Patches, rip everyone, holy moly.
Did you ring the second bell? That is incredible, I must say. But now we have a new problem. It's noisy, it snores, and its breath is lethal. This is no laughing matter, I tell you. Damn, that stench. And I was really beginning to like it here. Maybe it's time I do something about it.
I wonder what that is. What are you gonna do, friend? Well, whatever it is, stay safe. Okay, and the next order of business is to go and fight Sif, which unfortunately is required for us to proceed. And that's going to involve us having to... We are currently in human form, so we might have to fight some invaders on the way, so let's see how that works out. There goes the homeward bone. I mentioned in a much earlier episode how much I loved using this area to train back in the day when I was still brand new to Dark Souls. Just killing these NPCs over and over and over again. In part because they were really good for farming souls. Well of 195. That person was not a very high level. So yeah, I decided in advance of us coming here that we would be utilizing an R1 spam weapon to its fullest potential. And that's what you just saw. I thought I just heard an invasion noise, but I don't see an invader anywhere. I'd be very curious to hear if that happens to anyone else. When it's almost like phantom vibration syndrome, which, if you're not aware, if you have a phone and you use the vibrate function instead of a ringer, that the spot on, say, your leg, if you keep it in your pocket, the spot in your leg where you're used to feeling the vibration when you get a phone call or a text or something, that, you know, if you go long enough without feeling it, then your body you'll feel it even though it's not actually there. So I wonder to what extent that might be true of Dark Souls and invasions. Hi, Alvina.
Oh, it is thee. Thine kinsmen are betrayed by thee. This doth bode most badly. No rest will ease thy rotten soul whilst there is one clansman living. Forever tormented thou shalt be by our very howls. Hellish villain, thou hast used us most foully, thine own family. For thee, no mercy shall be shown.
Well, it's a good thing all the whoa. See you later. It's a good thing all the clansmen are dead. Because otherwise that might be something to be concerned about. So as I mentioned previously, this is Aegon II and not Aegon I. Not the build with which we started this game. We started this playthrough. So I don't remember whether or not I saved Sif on this build or not, because this build I created and just sort of ran through the first bit of the game just to sort of catch up. So I have no idea whether we're going to get the friendly cutscene to open this fight, or whether Sif is just going to reluctantly fight us, or if he's gonna treat us like a stranger and an intruder. Well, there's only one way to find out. Sorry, Sif, friend. So we picked up the Covenant of Artorias. This ring symbolizes Knight Artorias' covenant with the beasts of the Abyss. Its wearer, like Artorias himself, can traverse the Abyss. So, as we learned much earlier, this is not true. That Artorias cannot, and did not, in fact, traverse the Abyss. Because to traverse is to imply sort of a successful journey, but his journey was by no means successful. I also picked up the Soul of Sif. Special Soul of Sif, the Great Grey Wolf, who guards the grave of Artorias, the Abyss Walker. And over here, we have the Hornet Ring. One of these special rings granted to the 4 Knights of Gwyn. The Hornet Ring belonged to the Lord's Blade, Kieran. By boosting critical attacks, its wearer can annihilate foes, as Kieran's dagger laid waste to Lord Gwyn's enemies. So, much like in Dark Souls 3, we find the blade, or the Hornet Ring, at a grave which is ostensibly that of either Artorias himself or someone taking after him, or one of his successors. So I'm not really sure what to say about all that at this point, so we're just going to fire it out of here. So I should point out that the song you heard while we were fighting Sif is that of, I want to say, Floating Point. I really should have had this ready before I started recording. No, it wasn't Floating Point. So Floating Point did a song that we're going to hear later in this episode. It was MaouSaga who did, sort of an 8 or 16-bit rendition of the Great Grey Wolf Sif theme. So I'll obviously be leaving a link to that in the description below. Oh, you're awake. It's a humanity and a crescent axe. That's what it looked like the invader was using. Well-used old bronze battle axe with a long hilt and crescent-shaped blade. One of the blessed weapons of the Way of White, the crescent axe is bequeathed to cleric warriors who have proven their faith. I don't know why he drops that, because to be honest, that's the first time I've ever killed patches in this game, so I don't know what the deal is there. And all he drops is humanity, interestingly enough. Petrus, that is. Alright, so it's time for us to... we're not going to go fight the 4 Kings right away. But we are going to... there's something we need to pick up in the upper portion of New Londo. The New Londo Ruins. So we're going to go do that, and then we're going to homeward bone it back, and then fight the 4 Kings. Which, again, I'll direct you to the, I would direct you to the Wiki.Dark Souls wiki page on the cut content in Dark Souls 1, because there was a ring, apparently, cut from the game that would have allowed one to go through New Londo without aggroing the ghosts. And that would have been a mighty handy ring to have. To have had on our person at this point. So I wasn't sure what was happening there, because he was still at Firelink when we left just now. So I don't know how he would have been able to make his way down here as quickly as he did. He somehow beat us down here. That's something that has always confused me. But I do seem to recall that Marcus, in his From the Dark playthrough, surmised that maybe being upset with us, Crestfallen came down here with the intention of joining the Dark race. And that maybe he struggled with New Londo Ruins and went hollow as a result. So that's a very interesting possibility. But again, I don't know how all of that could have possibly happened in between us seeing him just then at Firelink and coming down here. So yes, time is convoluted and all that stuff, but that really, at least in the case of Dark Souls 3, because obviously I've been thinking most about the lore of Dark Souls 3 lately. In the case of Dark Souls 3, everyone jokes that, oh yeah, time is convoluted, and that somehow is a hand-waving thing when you're talking about the lore of the game. But it's really not necessary to even invoke that for most sort of understandings of the lore. So, I don't know. And that's what we came down here for, the parrying dagger. The reason for which should be fairly obvious, given that this is the finale. But, yeah, if it's not, then just wait and see. Sorry, Crestfallen. Okay, so now we're going to fight the Four Kings. So another very interesting piece of cut content, which again, you'll find a link describing it in the description below, and that's where I will have gotten this picture, is that the Four Kings don't seem to have originally been the boss of this area. Or insofar as they were a boss in this area, they weren't the only boss in this area. Previously, in order to get the key to the seal from Ingward, which you may or may not recall is the sealer, whatever that life bar is that we just saw pop up there, that Ingward would have tested us by forcing us to fight the undead King Jaril, who, at least in terms of the content that was left in the game, it still uses a lot of the sound effects and the moveset of King Allant, I believe, from Demon Souls. So that's very interesting. These guys are so much easier to kill than their Dark Souls 3 counterparts. So much easier. Oh, I take it back. I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it. You guys are really difficult. Oh no. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Oh man, I shouldn't have said anything. As soon as I said that, I was dooming myself. I was all but certain to make a fool out of myself there. Oh no. I knew I should have used one. I knew I should have used one of the curse items, whatever they're called. Transient curse. Might as well do it now. Because we do want to summon, what's her face? We do want to summon, is her name Mildred? Witch Beatrice. I don't know where I got Mildred from. So, and she can get really hung up on the ghosts if you give her an opportunity to, so we might as well just take out the ghosts as we're going. Because, yeah, she can get caught up going into the fog gate and all that stuff, so... So another really interesting thing about Witch Beatrice with respect to cut content is that there is a model in the game for a child Witch Beatrice. And... yeah, again, courtesy of the Dark Souls wiki on Wikidot, that, yeah, there seems to have been some sort of, I guess very similar to Shanawat in Dark Souls 2. There was supposed to be some sort of time travel thing happening, where we meet the younger version of the NPC and then later meet the adult version of them. So I don't know why that was cut or what that could have meant for the larger story, but it is quite interesting, or at least I think it is. So now we're off to fight what is probably one of my least favorite bosses in the game. I want to make sure, and the reason we summoned Beatrice is to complete her questline, so that is also why we're walking down all of these steps. Oh, something very important that I almost forgot there as well. That, yeah, if you don't have that equipped, if you don't have the Covenant of Artorias equipped, then you'll just become consumed by the Abyss when you fall in. So here we go, friends. Alright, well, that was not one of my better boss fights in the series. I will certainly admit to that. But also not one of the better boss fights in the game. So there's that as well. And we can see that there's a fair difference between this version of the Abyss and the Chasm of the Abyss, wherein we fought Manus. Excuse me, wherein we fought Manus. This seems to be the Abyss proper, where, yeah, it looks precisely like what its name would suggest. It's an abyss. Whereas the Chasm of the Abyss was an opening in the land where the abyss was either seeping in or the land was being swallowed by the abyss. I meant to read the message here. Imminent Demon. Okay. So yeah, so that's the Four Kings. We did pick up the Bequeath Lord Soul Shard, because of course they don't have a Lord Soul of their own. Soul of one of the Four Kings. So note that we only get one of the Four Kings, who fell to the dark. A fragment of a Lord Soul discovered at the dawn of the Age of Fire. Lord Gwyn recognized the foresight of these four great leaders of New Londo, and granted them their ranks and the fragments of a great soul. Although this is not a full Lord Soul, it can still satiate the Lord Vessel. So let's go do that, shall we? Actually, before we do that, I just remember there are two other things we have to do before we go satiate the Lord Vessel. And the first is to tie up loose ends with Witch Beatrice. Because otherwise there would have been no point to us summoning her for that boss fight. And she can do some damage, but it's always been my opinion that she actually makes the boss fight a little bit more difficult, because that boss fight is basically a DPS race. And even though she can increase her DPS, she does also increase the boss's health. So there I was able to kill the Four Kings, but if you're doing decent enough DPS and you're taking advantage of the fact that you can kill, you can do damage to the Four Kings, their entire life bar, even when you're hitting one of the Four Kings that you've just killed. If you do that, then you should be able to fight 3 or fewer potentially, but we had to fight 4. And even though it's called the Four Kings, if you do just pitiful DPS, then you can actually end up fighting more than 4 of them. So yeah. So we got Beatrice's Catalyst and Beatrice's Set. Catalyst belonging to Beatrice, the rogue witch, contrasts with Vinheim Catalyst. This ancient catalyst shows signs of being used for age-old sorceries. It has passed the hands of many generations to get here. So suggesting that the Dragon School was not the only place where sorcery flourished. Cloak of the Rogue Witch Beatrice. Almost all magic users that employ catalysts studied at Dragon School. But Beatrice is one of the few exceptions. She braved the abyss, but did not live to tell of her ordeal. So in contrast to some of the other NPC corpses in the game, you'll recall that earlier in the playthrough we puzzled over the existence of a corpse that seemed to be that of the pyromancer. How am I not remembering his name? Laurentius. And we also found a black sorcerer set in the in Sen's Fortress, suggesting that, or around the spot where we fought Griggs, in either the previous episode or the one prior to that. So I don't know what that means, or whether that's a times convoluted thing, or whether those are other corpses. But in this case, it's inconsistent if it is indeed times convoluted, because, yeah, we don't get Beatrice's set until you complete her quest line, which I believe involves, at the very least, summoning her for the Moonlight Butterfly, but also, I think, potentially for fighting the Four Kings. And so the implication seems to be there that she helped us defeat the Four Kings, decided that she could do it on her own after the fact, and couldn't. Why we find her corpse there in that particular spot, I don't really know. But yeah, there's that. But it does seem as though this is another case of cut content, rendering basically ineligible a storyline that was there previously.
Well, this is unusual. You haven't lost your head. And more importantly, you're free. How on earth? Well, I shouldn't pry. I'm Rickett of Vinheim. I was once an established smith, though. Look at me now. Can you believe it? What is it? Have you? Oh no. Don't worry. I've no intention of escaping. It's safe here. I can't bear the thought of going hollow out there. Although, I must admit, I've not much to occupy myself. How about this? I could forge your weapons, albeit with rather minimal tools. I'll show you what made me the best in Vinheim.
So yeah, I don't know if we've come down here and talked to Rickert in this playthrough yet. We might have done so with Aegon the First, but I can't recall.
What is it? There's nothing to talk about.
Alright. I believe we have an ember with his name on it. Though I could be wrong. Yeah. We have 2 embers for him. Potentially 3. I can't remember who takes the dark ember, but...
Hey, hang on. That's a sorcery ember, isn't it? Yes, it certainly is. First I've seen since my banishment from Vinheim. What do you say, friend? Mind giving that to me? This is no man's land. I'm the only one who could handle it anyway. Yes, as you should. I won't disappoint you. I'm taskless no longer. What's happened? What was that about? It doesn't matter. Come back soon. Smithing helps soothe my nerves. Don't let me wither away out of idleness.
I can see now why in Dark Souls 3 they added an option to just give things to them instead of having to do this.
Hey, hang on. Is that a sorcery ember? I've never seen one like that. Not even back in Vinheim. What a brilliant flame. Please, friend, let me have that, I am begging you. I am a craftsman of Vinheim. I'd go hollow before I pass him a flame like that. Oh, really? You are wonderful. I will forge a Rickett masterpiece just for you. A weapon to make a legend out of it. Come back soon. Smithing helps soothe my nerves. Don't let me wither away out of idleness.
So he said, for the previous one, he said he hadn't seen one since he was in Vinheim. For the one we just gave him, he said that he's never seen one even in Vinheim. So I'm assuming that it was, it's the Enchanted Ember that, it's the Enchanted Ember that he hadn't seen at Vinheim. So I can't remember if he's the one who takes the Dark Ember or not, though, but let's see.
Hey, hang on. Is that an ember? Oh, I'm sorry. We of Vinheim don't deal in shoddy embers like that. Perhaps you should try an old smith out in the country. What's up?
Yeah. So I guess it's maybe the skeleton blacksmith. Can't remember his name. I've always loved this fabulous hollow here. Getting ready for his magazine spread. Okay, so that's two of 3 errands out of the way. Let's go take care of the last one. What's wrong, friend? You'll be okay, don't worry. Or maybe not. Sorry. So this one's a little bit more problematic than the other 2 errands. But one that's very interesting, and one that I didn't realize was even possible when, until very late in my playing of this game, I guess. The first, 5 or 10 playthroughs. I had no idea that this was even possible, but it certainly is. So I figured I would show it to all of you out there watching this, just in case it's something that you yourself have never seen. Always get lost going here, though. Always. It never fails. It is this way. Hi, friends.
Magnificent. You defeated the 4 kings. Impressive, even for a bearer of the Lord Vessel. And with this, my purpose is exhausted. I have not seen the sun for a long time. Perhaps I could do with a change. Magnificent.
Yeah, well, a change is perhaps just what you need, Ingward.
Oh, hello. The sunlight made me wince. And now I've come back to this dark hole. So what brings you here? I will help you in any way I can.
So yeah, Ingward can come to Firelink Shrine after you've defeated the 4 kings. And yeah, it's pretty cool. It's not something that I thought to do until dozens and dozens of hours into having played this game. There's really not much of a point to it, but I figured with all the NPCs who have come to Firelink and died, most of whom died as a direct result of our actions in this playthrough, that it would be nice to have someone here to just chill and not die. So Ingward's going to fill that function for us very kindly. Except he's not very talkative. Anything else to say, friend?
Oh, hello.
No. Oh, no. That wasn't anything new. Alright. Time to satiate the Lord Vessel. Ah, you're sleeping again? Are you kidding me?
No, I'm fine. I'm fine. Well and wide awake. Do not treat me like an old withering snake.
Well, again, and I've said this previously, but stop acting like one if you don't want me to treat you that way. God, this message...
I am pleased to see you well. Is it something urgent?
Well, I do kind of have all of the soul shards we need, so you tell me, is that urgent?
The beings who possess these souls have outlived their usefulness, or have chosen the path of the wicked. As the primordial serpent, I implore you to defeat them and claim their souls. Let there be no guilt. Let there be no vacillation.
Well, I've already done that, friend.
Very well. Then stay still for a moment. I am pleased to see you well. Is it something urgent? The beings who...
Alright. Yeah, nothing else to say, eh? Okay. Time to enter the kiln. That is one of the coolest moments in this game. Do you still have nothing to say?
The Lord Vessel is satiated. Magnificent. You are the righteous successor to Gwyn, the new great lord, and I am Kingseeker no more. Your acquaintance was an honor. I must admit, I am fond of you humans. May you enjoy serendipity, and may the Age of Fire perpetuate.
Yes, I'm sure it'll be very serendipitous to set myself on fire and make myself human cinder. So this part right here is very, very, very cool. And giving us a glimpse of, I guess, the original vision of the Black Knights, who, as I mentioned much earlier in the playthrough, were meant to be these ghosts, these specters that just sort of wandered the land, and that you would encounter randomly. And in contrast to Dark Souls 3, rather than ascending to the kiln, we're descending to it. This place is so freaking beautiful. Okay, so the music you're hearing now is actually the Gwyn theme, slowed down by about 600%. And in my notes here, and this is something that has been driving me crazy for weeks as I've been trying to figure out who it was that recommended that I use this song. The song itself was posted by a YouTuber named DCookStaVideo. And it says in my note via Azure End, but then with a parenthetical question mark. So I believe it was Azure End who recommended it, but when I looked in the comments and tried to figure out whether it was in fact Azure End, I could not figure out whether it was or was not. So if it was you who recommended this to me, first, let me apologize. Second, let me thank you. And third, let me know so that I can make that correction. Because I thought that it would be quite fitting to play that music when we arrived at the Kiln. And this is one of those things that I've been wanting to finish this playthrough, and I received several comments after my Dark Souls 3 playthrough with people saying, oh, well, it's a shame you never finished your Dark Souls 1 playthrough. And each time I got a comment like that, it was like, no, I am going to finish it, I promise. It'll be some time. And part of the reason for that is that, yeah, I had this song planned to use for the Kiln, since whoever it was that first suggested it. So, very interesting once again to note the enormous difference between the Kiln now and the Kiln in Dark Souls 3. The landscape is perhaps a tad warped, but nothing like it is, not nearly as warped as it is in Dark Souls 3. And of course, all the Black Knights here are guaranteed drops for certain upgrade materials. So I've spent a lot of time, as I'm sure as anyone who spent any substantial amount of time playing Dark Souls 1, I spent a lot of time farming these Black Knights. Now we're gonna put on the Hornet Ring. See if we can get them in one riposte. So yeah, so they all they drop all the different types of chunks. This guy coming up here is my favorite. Because of how determined he is to get across this incredibly narrow walkway as soon as he detects you. That Hornet Ring, beautiful. So this is the only Black Knight set in the game. You can get their shield, but you can't get the set, and they don't. It's not on their drop table. Armor of the Black Knights who haunt Lordran. The knights followed Lord Gwyn, but when he departed to link the fire. But they were burned to ashes in the newly kindled flame, wandering the world as disembodied spirits even after. So yeah, once again, that was the original vision for the Black Knights, and it's a shame that it never actually came to fruition. It would have been really cool to see them do something like that in Dark Souls 3, but alas they did not. See right into the Kiln there. or the epicenter of the kiln, I guess. But where is Gwyn? I'm not sure if you can actually see him. Right around here is where we would have found Solaire's summon sign had we saved him. But alas, we did not. So trying to see if we can see Gwyn from out here. I'm sure you can from one angle or another, but I don't know where we would need to stand. This one drops a white Titanite chunk? Yeah. And the last one, just another Titanite chunk, I believe. Either that or a red Titanite chunk. I think it might be a red Titanite chunk. Maybe a blue one? Yeah, blue one. Alright. Here goes nothing. You know, everyone always jokes about how easy it is and how much it trivializes the fight to parry Gwyn. And yet, I've never been very good at doing it. So, yeah, there's that. Maybe it's just me. Even with the parrying dagger, though, that was an utter failure. Okay, maybe it trivializes it a little bit. And I just sucked at parrying that last time there. I do remember my first few times though using all of these pillars in the boss room to create space and create some separation between myself and Gwyn. Because he just kicked the crap out of me. Over and over and over again. Soul of the Gwyn? Soul of the Gwyn, Lord of Sunlight, and Cinder, who linked the first flame. Lord Gwyn bequeathed most of his power to the gods and burned as cinder for the first flame. But even so, Lord Gwyn's soul is a powerful thing indeed. So in order to close the loop that we created with my Dark Souls 3 playthrough, where Aegon of Astora linked the flame, or I guess it wasn't even Aegon, it was Regret. So we still not closed the loop yet. But yeah, in order to ensure that we become part of the Lord of Cinder in Dark Souls 3, we are going to link the flame. So it is very, very, very interesting to note the contrast between Dark Souls 3, when you link the flame in Dark Souls 3, and when you link the flame in Dark Souls 1. That in Dark Souls 1, it's just barely there. You barely see the effect of having linked the flame. That it is something that, you know, there was this entire institution that sprung up around the idea of linking the flame and the necessity of the same. And yeah, you barely even create a sputter in the first flame, whereas here, since we're only the second person to link the flame, there's just this enormous jolt that takes place that, you know, you see fire everywhere. Fire springs up. But by the time of Dark Souls 3, the flame has been linked so many times. The soul of Cinder has absorbed so many different souls, the essences of countless lords of Cinder, that it's not really working anymore. It's almost like, and I often tie things back to biomedicine, especially if you see my Bloodborne playthrough, but it's almost just like with certain medications, when you take them, the more you take them, the less efficacious they become. Your body sort of adapts to it in a way where, you know, you need more of something in order to achieve the same effect. And so it's no surprise that you have, yeah, this institution sprung up all around the idea of linking the first flame, and that in part as a result, it becomes more and more difficult. It becomes more necessary to have this institution in place. So yeah, so that's really, really interesting. And something that, Ingrid and Petrus are both voiced by the same person who does Andre. Not something I realized previously. these credits look very different than the preceding or the following 3 games, so that's interesting. But yeah, I'm not really sure if there's much more I have to say at this point. If you would like for me to do an appendix video, if there's anything that you want me to discuss or to respond to, then leave a comment in the comment section below, and you know, maybe you want me to go and look at the differences between, you know, X in Dark Souls 3 and Y in Dark Souls 1. And I'll consider maybe doing an appendix video somewhere down the road, but unfortunately, having lost all my builds, this is the only build I have. And in Dark Souls 1, unlike in Dark Souls 2 and 3, you can't choose to hold off on going into New Game Plus. It thrusts you right into New Game Plus. So there's really not all that. I would have to actually go and yeah, make my way to whatever spot that was in. So I'm open to the idea, but I'm not sure if I have the time to do that. But if there are enough comments requesting that I look at specific things, or, you know, to look at things that I did not look at in this playthrough, then I will certainly entertain it. If I do decide to do it, it might not be for several months, but yeah, that's something I'm definitely open to. Because I love Dark Souls 1, as I hope was apparent to anyone who watched the entirety of this playthrough. This is a fantastic, just wonderful, amazing game, and definitely my favorite. But Dark Souls 3 is very good, very, very good, as is Dark Souls 2. I don't really think there's all that much value to be gained from comparing them, but yeah.
Yes, indeed. The dark sign brands the undead. And in this land, the undead are corralled and led to the north. Where they are locked away to await the end of the world. This is your fate.
But that's going to do it for this playthrough, so thank you all very, very much for joining me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.